Hey, Dave, it's obviously been a very exciting 24 hours. What was your reaction to the addition of Max Scherzer, Trey Turner, and Danny Duffy?
Um, uh, Elation. I was very excited. Um, Obviously, very um, accomplished, very consistent, very good ball players, and they enhance our club tremendously. And I think honestly, um, from Mark Walter and ownership um, to Andrew uh, and the baseball ops guys to scouting and development, finding guys to potentially develop them, to ultimately trade them for guys like this. That's what makes great organizations great. And for us, for me, we get the fruits, and I'm just very excited about getting these guys on the active roster and winning baseball games to ultimately win another championship.
And you've added another Cy Young Award winner into the clubhouse. What do you see that Max Scherzer brings to this team?
Well, along with Clayton, you could argue, those two are the two best pitchers of our, recent generation. And fierce competitor, uh, champion winner. And he's a baseball player. I mean, this guy, I've fortunately been around him enough as far as in All-Star games and dug in on him. And he's a pitcher, but overall, he's a baseball player. You're going to see him on the bench, rooting teammates on, and the work that he puts in each day before starts, in between starts, parallels Clayton's, which is well documented to Dodger fans. So it's a high intense competitor.
And here recently at the All-Star Game, you got to spend some time with Trey Turner. What are you looking forward to having him in the lineup?
Um, he's very dynamic. There's nothing on a baseball field that he can't do. He can beat you in so many ways. And I think that if you look at Major League Baseball, he's on a short list that can beat you with all the different skill sets and tools, with the arm, the glove, the power, the speed. There's not many guys that can play a premium position that can do that. He's an intense competitor. He's a lot more mild mannered than Max is, especially from what I've heard. I knew him a little bit when he was a younger player with the Padres before he got traded over. But make no mistake that this guy is a super competitor and a heck of a ball player.
And do you happen to have a timeline as to when we could see Max and Trey with the team? I do understand that, of course, Trey is dealing with COVID protocols.
Trey's dealing with COVID protocols. I guess we're hopeful for, sometime next week we'll get him back, but there's still testing that he's got to kind of get through, and a little bit of the quarantine process that he's got to get through. So I really am not totally clear on that. Max is flying in tomorrow. He'll throw his side session on Sunday. And
Thanks,
then
Dave.
Duffy will be with us tomorrow as well. And once we get him and we can get him with the training staff, kind of figure out, his program going forward.
Next question from Dave Ressa. Go ahead.
Hey, Dave, with that being said, as far as Max throwing his side session on Sunday, do you know when he'll start? Is it too soon to determine that, or is it going to be Tuesday or Wednesday?
I think Wednesday is the day we're targeting.
And you mentioned your time with Scherzer at All-Star Games. What about this past All-Star Game? How much did you get to make it a point to get to know him a little bit better and let him know a little bit more about the Dodgers in anticipation of him having to waive his 10-5 rights?
That's a slippery slope. I think that I can't speak for the players that were there in Dodger uniforms, but I think for myself, I was just kind of talking about, the city and how it was happening in Denver. And we went over there together with the press conference. Just, he knows my admiration for him, seeing him from the other side. So I make sure I don't get involved in stuff like that until the guy's ours.
But maybe a couple of Red Stitch wines his way, right?
Now he can have all the Red Stitch wine he wants now.
Hey, Dave, you mentioned Trey Turner. Your paths crossed in San Diego. How much did you know about him when he was that young? And did you see this type of player when you were together?
Well, I remember being a coach over there and having him in spring training, which was sort of weird, and he handled it really well because he had already been traded, but he had to spend the spring with us. And I remember having him on the bases and talking base running with him and watching him catch ground balls. And he was just a guy that just wasn't physically mature, but you could see the hit tool, you can see the twitch, and the head. And so I think I saw all of it, but I just didn't see the power. But I'm sure for him, he's a really good hitter, can backspin the baseball. And he's just, like I said before, just so dynamic and just a great man of character.
One more for me. You have Seager back in the lineup tonight. You said Mookie on Sunday. Do you feel like you're starting to get that depth back that you started with at the beginning of the season?
I think we are. I think we are. And with that, we have some off days coming up, but it's imperative to make sure that we don't try to get these guys back too fast as far as running them out there. So Corey, I'm expecting to give him one of these next 2 days off after tonight. Mookie, once he gets back, we have an off day and then play a couple, then off day. So that's easier. But with the addition of Trey Turner, it also just adds to that depth once we get him. So giving guys certain off days is only beneficial.
Next question is from Bill Plunkett. Go ahead.
Hey, Dave, who starts for you tomorrow?
We don't know, Bill. Obviously, with what happened with Josiah, it kind of happened quick. So we'll figure it out. I don't see anybody coming as far as out of the organization. So I feel that kind of with what we have, we'll make it work.
Sounds like a bullpen game.
Very likely.
Okay. And Andrew referred to Seager and Turner as both premier shortstops. What are you going to do with two premier shortstops?
Well, I want to say that I want to talk to Trey. Corey's been our shortstop for many years, and he's a premier shortstop, as you mentioned and Andrew mentioned. Trey is right there in that same caliber of very small shortstops. So I'm going to talk to him and kind of figure out where the best fit for him, our club. But this guy can do so many things on a baseball field. And right now he's a Dodger. Corey's a Dodger. It's about winning, and we'll put the pieces together.
Have you had some fun over the last few hours toying with what the lineup could look like with everybody healthy?
Truth be told, I have. And I think the defense will continue to get better. The offense, I just can't give Andrew and his guys enough credit for putting this thing together. And like I said earlier, Bill, man, it's an organizational thing. So to make something like this happen, it takes a lot of people from scouting, player development, and a willing owner. So we're very fortunate, no doubt.
Thanks, Dave.
You got it.
Next question is from Ron Kavner. Go ahead.
Hey, Dave, we've asked you in the past about, the good problem of having too many guys for not enough spots offensively with position players, especially, back in the more platooning days. I'm just kind of curious when everyone's healthy, when Betts is back, have you considered, how all the playing time, especially in the outfield, is going to shake out? Or is that something you're going to just have to look at going forward?
Well, I spent a little time on it, Ron, to be quite honest. We've been banged up all year. And so to have the depth to prepare for the unexpected, I think is very prudent. We've done that. This is a very intelligent, talented group of baseball players, very unselfish group. So I think that understanding what's in the room, the talent, there's going to be some give and take with all the guys. So working in off days to keep guys sharp, fresh, a strong bench where they can potentially impact the club a different time of the game. That's important. And I don't think the buy-in is going to be difficult. As a manager, I want all of our guys to be in there every single day, every inning. I get that. But in reality, that's not the case. So we'll sort of deal with it when we get to it. But like I said, I've always said it's a high class problem, and we'll get through it.
Thank you.
Next question from Fabian Ardaya. Go ahead.
Hey, Dave. How much do you guys really feel like you needed another front end starter?
I thought it was a high priority. I thought, going into this trade deadline, we collectively felt that was a top priority for us to move the needle to give us the best chance to win the World Series in 21. You can always get better on the pitching side, the bullpen, the positional player side. So I think that acquiring a 3-time Cy Young winner and arguably one of the most dynamic players in baseball certainly moves the needle. So we accomplished that. And now we're going to get some other guys back healthy. Clayton being one at some point, Corey Knebel being another. So Scott Alexander. So we're in a good spot.
And then when did you sort of have an idea that this was going to happen?
I didn't know until I think late last night that it had a good chance. But again, I've been there where the 11th hour it falls through. So I kind of tempered my excitement. So to wake up this morning and know it was done, ecstatic.
Next question from Eric Steven. Go ahead.
Dave, when you mentioned talking to Trey, was that just about like his sort of role, or have you like welcomed him? Have you talked to him at all?
So I shot him a text. He's got a lot going on, talked to a lot of people. So I've got to get out there for batting practice. So I'm going to talk to him later today and catch up, and we'll talk more. I want to kind of welcome him, his family, and once we get into person or on the phone, talk more details. But right now it's just more of a welcome into the organization type conversation.
I know earlier today you guys also claimed a catcher, Chad Wallach, to give you some more depth. What do you know about him?
So Chad's a big leaguer. His father was a coach of mine when I was here at the Dodgers. So there's a baseball intelligence pedigree, and obviously losing Cabert. So to have him backfill, have him in the organization who's caught major league games, taking major league at bats is certainly added depth. Absolutely. Good addition.
Next question is from Mike DiGiovanni. Go ahead.
Dave, how do you think these moves are going to impact the NL West while,
Well,
taking into account what the other teams did as well?
I'll tell you, I don't know. I think for anyone, for myself included, a sports fan, baseball fan, to wrap their head around the NL West baseball, see as the dust finally settles. I mean, it's crazy. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this. So the NL West, there's a lot of movement, I think the one thing you can look at the NL West is I've said this from the beginning, it's the best division in baseball, and it's the deepest. Now, if you're talking about position player, pitching, depth, us 3 ball clubs kind of checked all the boxes.
Thanks, Dave.
Last one's from Kerry Osborne. Go ahead.
Dave, there have been some pretty good stories about Max's intensity. Do you have any stories to share about being on the other side or being his manager in All-Star Game that shows an example of that intensity?
I don't know if Rick Honeycutt will, want me to share this story, but publicly, but I'm going to. So we were in DC, and Honey told me the story. So Max is in there warming up, and he has his own routine as he gets loose and gets going. And so it's intense. And so Honey has a towel on his shoulder. And then Max looks at Honey, who had never met him at that point, and goes, "Pamper me." And Honey looks at Max, and he's like, "Excuse me?" And he goes, "Pamper me." And so Honey gets this towel and starts like blotting his face. And then Max thanks him and takes off his hat, thanks him, and then goes back to pitching. And Honey was just blown away because he's never had to pamper a starting pitcher. So it's funny is that after Max throws his 2 innings and he goes back to Honey, kind of the third or the fourth inning after he's done, and goes, "Hey, you know, I was just messing with you, don't you?" And it's just such a good story. So I had to give Mark Pryor fair warning this past year. So I think that Max messed with Mark, but not as bad as he got Rick Honeycutt. So, Honey, I apologize for sharing it publicly.